Hi there. This is an introductory video to EFT or Emotional Freedom Technique. I used to have a video like this a while ago, but I decided that it needed a refresh, a facelift, a little bit of an updating. And so this is for basically anyone who either has never experienced EFT or you want a little bit of a refresher. And so what I often do, I give my clients all the time, I record for them tracks of EFT sequences that we do in our sessions together, and I send it to them on their phone so they have these tracks. And I also, for my list of subscribers to my newsletter and my blog, I sometimes create these EFT tracks that people can use for almost anything. And so what I wanted to do is have this go to basics of EFT videos so that either it can serve as a refresher or, again, if you've never done it, to give you an idea of what is EFT and how does it work. So EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique, was created a couple decades ago, maybe a little bit longer, by Gary Craig, who developed this technique that's a combination of essentially the understanding of meridians or acupuncture points. So if you've ever heard of a Chinese medicine or you've ever had acupuncture or acupressure, there are these very specific energy points on the body. And the system of meridians has been understood for thousands of years. It's not something that we utilize in Western medicine, but it's definitely an integral part of Chinese medicine. And it doesn't correspond with any specific part of the body, they're just energy lines. And so during EFT, we are tapping on these energy points, and I'm tapping on a couple of them. So I'll show you what the points are. And so it integrates tapping on these points with saying certain statements that relate to a problem, a symptom, an emotion, an issue that you're wanting to work with. And so Gary Craig used to say, try it on anything, because it really works on almost anything. And you may have heard it as EFT. You may have also heard it as the tapping technique, because it's just kind of taken the world by storm. And so when I first learned EFT, I think it was easily about 10 years ago, nobody had heard of EFT, nobody was doing EFT, and it was really, really weird. Now people are kind of used to it. If you've never seen it and never done it, I will tell you, it looks weird, it seems weird, but it's very powerful. So let me walk you through how the technique works, and then I'll answer a few commonly asked questions when I've taught EFT. What are some of the things that people often say? So the first step in EFT is you identify what's the problem that you're working on. And what you want to try to find is what is the thing that's most salient, what's the loudest. So it may be a physical symptom, it may be an emotion, it may be a thought, whatever it is, and you can do a little inventory of feelings, sensations, or thoughts, and then you calibrate them. Essentially, you assess on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is it in this moment? And 10 would be the highest it could possibly be, and 1 is barely registering, almost not present. So you do a little inventory of what are the things that you're noticing or feeling, and then you identify how they rate on a scale of 1 to 10. So that helps you identify what's the strongest issue. And usually you want to start there, because when you start with something that's maybe not so relevant, you may find that after you do the EFT, that things didn't shift so much, that you're not feeling too different. And so when you find the most salient thing, usually that's when you notice a really quick, really significant shift. Sometimes even finding the perfect word. So let's say if you're doing EFT for pain, there are many words for pain. There's ache and throbbing, piercing, burning, radiating, stabbing. There are all different words for pain to describe the pain. And the more specific you get, the better it will work. So you identify your problem as the first step. You calibrate it on a scale of 1 to 10. That's the second step. The next step is to do what we call the setup point. the setup statement or the setup, tapping on the setup point. So the setup point is what we call the karate chop or the side of your hand. And here I normally tap with 4 fingers, with the tips of my 4 fingers on the karate chop side of the hand while we do the setup statement. And we typically say the setup statement maybe 3 times, 3 or 4 times. Usually 3 is enough. So the setup statement always goes, it has 2 parts. It always goes something like this. Even though I have this blank, insert problem, I still love and accept myself. Gary Craig used to say, even though I have this blank, insert problem, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I find that a lot of times with my clients, people feel a hesitation to saying, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. For example, if we're working on weight loss or a serious health issue, they say, I don't want to accept myself this way. I don't want this. And so when you have a big resistance to saying, I deeply and completely love and accept myself, then I find that it's not so helpful. So you can just say, I accept myself, or I love and accept myself. Sometimes there is such a strong negative feeling towards the problem that you're addressing, let's say severe pain or weight loss, that you can't even say I accept myself or I love myself. Then sometimes with my clients, what I'll use for that second part of the statement is something like, I'm willing to believe that I'm going to be okay. So then the setup statement would look like, even though I have this blank, insert problem, I am willing to believe I'm going to be okay. It always has to have the first part, statement of problem, second part, I'm going to be okay, I love and accept myself, etc. So what's happening with the statement, and I'm a hypnotherapist, so this is one of the things I most love about EFT, is that what's happening with the setup statement is that you're saying, even though I have this bad thing, this unpleasant thing, this feeling, this emotion, this frustration, whatever it is, even though I have this bad thing, positive side says, I still love myself, I still accept myself, I'm still going to be okay, I'm willing to believe I'm going to be okay. So what that starts to create in your subconscious mind is space. It starts to create space around the problem. Even though there's this problem, there's something else that's not problem. There's hope. There's love for myself. There's acceptance of myself. So in creating space subconsciously around the problem, the tension, or what I call sometimes gripping around the problem in your subconscious mind, starts to relax. It's like the subconscious mind hears, oh, she's aware of this. She's paying attention. Okay, we don't have to hold on to it so strongly. We can relax. And in that relaxation that starts to happen, that's when people initially start to notice, oh, actually, this is going down a little bit. This is improving a little bit. So we do that setup statement, even though I have this blank, I still love and accept myself. We do it 3 times. And then we go to what's called the sequence. So the sequence goes through 8 different points. And so the points are the eyebrow point, essentially where your eyebrow meets, actually I should turn this way, where your eyebrow meets the bridge of your nose. So you would tap, I usually go with 2 fingers here. You tap with 2 fingers. The second point is the outside of the eye. So also right on the orbit of the eye, you do gently 2 fingers. Sometimes people ask me, how many times do you tap? And really it doesn't matter, 7, 8, 9, 10, as long as it takes you to say the statement. Then the third point is underneath the eye, and here we tap with 2 fingers again, right on the orbit of the eye. As you're looking straight ahead, it's right there. The next one is underneath the nose, in between the nose and upper lip. The next one is on the chin. You would go to the deepest groove of your chin. The next one is the collarbone point, or you start with an index finger on your collarbone, and then your other 3 fingers would fall down below. And you're essentially going about, what you want to be hitting is an area that's about 1.5 inches down from your collarbone and about 1.5 inches to 2 inches away from the center of your sternum. And so you would hit that spot by doing 4 fingers. So here we tap with 4 fingers. And then the next point is underneath the arm. So it's about 3 inches below your armpit. For most women, it's right on your bra strap. This is underneath the arm. And then the last point of the sequence is the top of your head. So there are these 8 points in the whole sequence. And we go around and around at least 3 times. Usually I do more than that. And when you're tapping on these points, you don't have to say the whole statement. All you do is do a summary statement. So the initial technique, the way Gary Craig first developed it, all he did was acknowledge the problem. And so you would say, let's say, for example, that you're working on pain. Even though I have this pain, I still love and accept myself. Then the sequence would say this pain, this pain, this pain, this pain, this pain. Or let's say that you're working on anxiety, you would have done a set of statements, something like, even though I am feeling anxiety, or even though I have this anxiety, I still love and accept myself. Then you would go to the eyebrow point and say this anxiety, this anxiety, this anxiety, this anxiety, etc. And you go around and around at least 3 full cycles of all 8 points. So the statement of this anxiety, you essentially are identifying the anxiety, and what's happening in doing that is that, again, subconsciously, your mind observes that and says, there is this experience of anxiety, and there's more of me that is outside of the anxiety. So there starts to be a separation between you, the observer, and anxiety, the experience. So what starts to happen with anxiety or pain or whatever it is that you're working on, as you create separation, you start to notice that the feeling, the emotion, the problem, whatever it is, isn't overpowering you. You start to feel that it doesn't have as much hold over you. So then the sensation and the experience of it starts to improve. It starts to get milder, softer, weaker. And so you start to notice that the experience of it diminishes. So again, when the technique was first developed, all that Gary Craig ever did was just state this anxiety, this anxiety, this anxiety. With time, practitioners have developed their own variants. Gary Craig never, I shouldn't say never, because he did actually shift after a while. He would go from just stating the problem. After a few rounds of stating the problem, he would sometimes shift into identifying the desired state and saying, I'm feeling peace, or I'm feeling at ease in my body. I notice calmness arising, and these things can be helpful too. However, the purity of the technique with just identifying the problem and focusing on the problem is the most important part, because a lot of times the phrase, what you resist persists, and that's a lot of what happens in our body, in our psyche. We're trying really hard to not feel anxious, or to resist the pain, to resist the experience. And in that battle, in that confrontation, that internal struggle, then you experience more of it. So when you acknowledge with EFT, I am having this problem, but I know I'm still okay, as in the setup statement. And then through the sequence, you acknowledge, I'm feeling this problem. Just doing that is going to diminish the experience of it. And a lot of times, if you were to switch into positive statements, it would be more of a replica of the internal battle, and kind of, still trying to, I'm doing EFT because I really want to fix this. So it puts you back into an energy of fixing it. Anyway, this is just a means of introducing to you what are the EFT points and how does it work. And when you are following an EFT track, whether it's mine or somebody else's, you'll see that we as the practitioner will say the statement and then we create a pause so that you will repeat the statement after us. So you'll hear me, even though I have this anxiety, pause, and that's your turn to say, even though I have this anxiety. Then you'll hear me say, I still love and accept myself, and I'll pause. So you can say, I still love and accept myself. So you can do EFT tracks with videos. You can look up videos. I offer a lot of tracks to my clients and on my blog and newsletter. So I hope this video was useful, and now you can go and knock yourself out doing EFT, mine or other people's. So have fun with that. I'm sure you'll find it very helpful.